Welcome to Washington, D.C., where this week we're going to learn everything about housing. Housing Explained by Moses Law. Hello and welcome to the Everything Travel Nurse Show, a show dedicated to educate and entertain nurses who are inspired by travel nursing. I'm a world traveler and been on the road now for over 3 years. My name is Travel Nurse Gary. I believe that you can do this too, and I'm here to help you along your journey. Hello, you guys, and welcome to this week's episode of the Everything Travel Nurse Show. We're talking about, of course, Housing Explained. We're going to talk about everything you need to know about housing. We're in the beautiful Washington, D.C. area where it's literally so cold that my microphone keeps on freezing up when we're outside. I mean, it's so cold that you have to measure it in Celsius. Alright then, well, maybe it's not cold enough that it's Canada cold or that we need to measure this in Celsius, but it's still cold enough that my microphone keeps on freezing up, so you know that it's pretty cold. Looking on though, we're talking about housing this week, and we really need to talk about the subject, especially now during this pandemic, because it's really difficult finding housing, and we need to have multiple ways to find housing so that we don't have just one option. We're going to go over different ways to find housing. But first, we need to talk about paid housing, or do I have a company find housing for me? And let's ask ourselves that question. So you say to yourself, do I take the housing stipend or do I take the paid housing? Well, let's clearly identify the differences between the two packages so that you can understand and apply which is going to work better for your situation. Here, hold on real quick. It's not supposed to be humming, but it's okay. I know how to fix it. Real quick. Got it! So now that we know that we have two different options, let's talk about the first one, paid housing. And it really is as simple as it sounds. The company you work for is going to pay for your housing for your contract. You literally show up to the address where they send you to, and you get your key, and you live there for 13 weeks. Why would you choose this option? It's really easy and simple, and if you got to do this to get your first contract because you're scared, you don't want to find your first housing, or maybe you just don't have enough time, that's where the real benefit of this service is going to be, and that's who I'm going to recommend it for. That we know that we have paid housing, we also have our other options. That's finding our own housing, and it's actually really simple. I can usually always find my housing in less than 10 minutes. It's really simple, but we're going to go over all anyway because you got to have somebody show it to you, and we're going to make it really simple. And you're probably familiar with the first platform I like to use the most, and that's going to be Airbnb, of course. And we also have Furnished Finders, Facebook Marketplace, and there's some groups on Facebook Marketplace that we're also going to talk about when finding housing that's going to be really helpful for you. And before we even get to all that though, we're going to do this week's closer look with our guest star, Nomad Nurse Denise. Now this is the part of the show where we're going to take a closer look. Every week's going to be a little bit different what we look at, depending on where my mind decides to take us. But there's different aspects of travel nursing that we just don't always think about that really do deserve a closer look. Here we are in front of the reflection pool in Washington, D.C., right in front of where Martin Luther King gave his speech, I Have a Dream. And here's our special guest.
I'm Nomad Nurse Denise, and I'm here to talk to you about today one of the best characteristics to be as a travel nurse, adaptable. It's always important to adapt to your surroundings, no matter what kind of circumstance you're in. For example, I took a contract in San Leandro, California, which I wasn't too happy about initially because it was kind of in a sketchy area and I was by myself as a female. And it ended up being one of my favorite contracts because there was the ocean and it's always 60 to 80 degrees in the Bay Area. And there's no chance of snow like today in the blizzard.
That actually is really good advice, being adaptable. I know my first contract I was supposed to actually go to San Diego. I had to go to San Diego. There was no other option, and that's what I told my recruiter, and she actually sent me a bunch of jobs to LA. And I actually found out that I like LA a lot more than I like San Diego. Believe it or not, I love the hustle and bustle that LA has to offer, but then like when I'm in San Diego, for some reason, all I want to do is lay around and drink beer. So I'm actually really happy that I went to LA in my first contract. Being adaptable, especially on your first contract, is a key element because you're going to find that you might not get the place that you want. Alright everybody, so when you get a contract and you get through the entire interview process, this is what an actual contract's going to look like. This is what you need to read over and make sure you understand before you sign this contract. There we go. We got travel nurse Gary. He's going to be contracted to work at St. Josephina's Medical Center, located in Houston, Texas. Madres Antiguas, home of Madres old-fashioned travel nurse agency. Oh, look, dearie, isn't that sweet? Located in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And here's the assignment details. Make sure that we really pay attention to this, because this is going to be information we need to make sure that we really thoroughly understand. Contracted shift 9 to 5, OR nurse, first afloat, on call every single weekend. Look, it's not going to be in highlighted red for you to just easily pick out. Make sure you read over this contract and thoroughly understand this. Time off, quick tip on the time off, make sure that you do have that all set up before you even contract your recruiter. And next up on the list is our cancellation policy. Make sure you read that, because that's going to be different every single contract and ties directly into our housing allowance portrayed based on hours worked. So if you call in, they're not going to pay you this $900 and this $350 to be paid with regular weekly paychecks. You're going to get a much reduced version of that, so make sure you're not calling in. Now let's tie that all together into with, please answer these next following 4 questions. While on travel assignment, will you incur duplicate expenses for housing like mortgages, rent, utilities? Leasing a storage facility for personal items does not qualify as a permanent tax residence. Renting your permanent tax residence to a third party is considered not incurring duplicate expenses. So this is interesting, because if you have a duplex or triplex, it doesn't really say anything about renting that out, so that's a little bit gray. And let's make sure that we understand too that this is strictly informational and entertaining. Gary's not responsible for your taxes, and if this is ever pulled up in a court of law, it's just strictly entertaining. Do you return to your residence annually or periodically so that it qualifies for a permanent tax residence? Make sure you go back to LA at least a couple times every year to make sure that you meet those guidelines. Is it unreasonable to return to your permanent tax residence between each shift? Yeah, it is. Do you maintain your permanent tax residence on your driver's license, car registrations, or other official documents? Make sure it says on your driver's license, Gary, Los Angeles. And another big thing is that vote. Make sure you vote. So that way you can say to the IRS, well, I vote in LA County. It's a little tiny thing that they're going to really want you to kind of be able to prove to them. And that's what your contract's going to look like. Welcome to my Facebook page. There I am, Travel Nurse Gary. You can also find me on Instagram, travel_nurse_Gary. Here we're going to be looking for houses we're currently stocked in, but let's go over here to the left and say filters and change this over to Washington, D.C., where we're currently at. And I like to be really close to where I'm staying at, next to the hospital. I don't have a car, so I need to be like within a couple miles so that I can either bike, Uber, or walk to work. Currently I'm in New Orleans right now filming, and I actually walk to work and I really love it. The trees here are so beautiful. It's completely different than any other different part of the US, so I really enjoy my little walks to and from work. Here back in Facebook Marketplace, we can change our filters from the price, and you can see all these different filters over to the left that you can go through. I've actually used Facebook Marketplace quite a bit to buy bikes, actually. New bikes, old bikes. I've been pretty lucky on Facebook Marketplace, actually, finding really good quality bikes. Maybe they just need minor fix-up details and low maintenance, and if I don't like them after I'm done with them, I usually just give them back to Salvation Army after my contract, and I just go and find a new bike at a different location, and I like to fly in between my locations. I'm a pretty nomad nurse. There's not many others out there that I've been able to find that don't have a car, that ride their bike, and it's been kind of interesting living a lifestyle like this. In regards to buying bikes and housing and, let's say, Tiffany's jewelry that's $2,000 below market value, I just want to say when using Facebook Marketplace, and use your best judgment when buying products. We're just going to leave that one alone right there. On Facebook Marketplace right here, you can see that we are looking for houses, and you can find houses with people, or you can find them solo. I always actually live with people. I really enjoyed all my travels throughout the U.S. of living with people. I've lived with different age groups, from girls younger than me, older than me. I've lived with guys younger than me, older than me. I've lived with almost every single different race across the world. It's been really amazing, actually. It's been some of my best experiences as a travel nurse. It's just been living with people. And I just want to say, if you're you're new to traveling and you're just like, I gotta live alone, I can't be with other people. You can just close your door and then you're by yourself. And if you can save $1,000 a month, why not at least try it? You might end up really liking it, and I'm going to give a big recommendation on trying to go live with other people because it really is an awesome way to live. And just meet people from all over the US and the experiences that you live. I've lived with so many cool people. So, in regards to Facebook Marketplace, let's go to Amanda here in California and hear what she has to say about it.
Hello, my name is Amanda. I have been a travel nurse for going on 5 years now. This is Huntington Beach. One of the things that I love about traveling is that I can go anywhere I want, whenever I want. And the marketplace on Facebook helps me be able to find the housing that I need to go into those areas. It's quick, it's efficient, and it's a great way to find placement for wherever you want to go. So give it a shot. Thanks. Bye.
Well, that's what Amanda has to say about the subject. It is quick and efficient, and I'm going to agree with her. It really is quick and efficient. Every time I've used it, it's been simple transactions, and I've never had any problems with it. While we're on Facebook, let's talk about two different groups that you can join today. Just join them right today because now you know that they exist. The first one's going to be Housing Matters right here. And they're both really gigantic forums on Facebook that you can join that's all about just finding housing, and they're for travel nurses and those who are looking to rent out their rooms and houses for travel nurses. Here's a post that you can create. I'm looking for housing in Washington DC. You can post your dates. You can post like requirements that you need, like I have a dog, I've got a girlfriend, I've got luggage, I've got 2 cars, whatever you need to post and your requirements, you can put them on here and let them know about it. Housing Matters, you can see that's the logo. It's a great forum. And let's talk about the other one right here. This is going to be Travel Nurse, Housing Gypsy Nurse, and it's sponsored by Furnished Finders, which we're about to talk about. And this is a massive one. This is 100,000 members, all about travel nursing. I don't even think there is 100,000 travel nurses in the U.S., but there's 100,000 people signed up on this forum all talking about travel nursing, and you can post all of your requirements right there. And look at that, you can even post pictures of your animals and pets on there to let them know what your dog looks like. Isn't that, doesn't that just make it so much more streamlined? This is such a great application. If you're a travel nurse, I think that this is pretty much just a requirement that you need to be a part of. So here's my Airbnb account, and you can see that jumping right into this, I have 20 different reviews. I've used this from Toronto, Ontario, Canada, all the way down to Buenos Aires, Argentina, and South America. I've used this on multiple contracts, and I've lived with some of these people for 6 months at a time. I've made them apple pie. I've walked their dogs when they were gone at work. I've used their vehicles. I've listened to their stories of traveling the world. I even have one instance where I was offered to have an arranged marriage in Shenzhen, China. Now, an arranged marriage isn't something that I'm interested in now or back then, but I'll be honest with you, I did enjoy it. Getting back to the video, we have Airbnb here, and as you can see, I've got Airbnb Maps pulled up here, but I also have Google Maps pulled up as well. And I'll flip between the two, and I like to find a hospital or a housing that's in between the hospital and a supermarket. That way I can kind of walk to each location, make it easy. And you can see I got the maps pulled up here, and that's the train system there for Washington, D.C. So you can find yourself a house that's right along the train line, so you don't have to have a car. And especially if you're flying from, like, say, California to Washington, D.C., it's just so much easier to fly there than it is to drive. And you can just use the train system to get into and from work. To save cost, why not? Think of it as a 13-week vacation. These are going to go by so fast. Before you know it, you'll be traveling for 3 years, and you're going to have all sorts of crazy stories. Now, I like to search for houses that have clean gutters, have clean lawns. I don't see boarded up windows, houses burnt down. I don't see multiple liquor stations. Make sure you look out for that. That's our today's quick tip. Alright, so this is the last website we're going to talk about, and this is Furnished Finders. And I have to say, overall, just the website design and layout is absolutely astounding. for this website. I really like Furnished Finders, and I recently used this in Stockton, California for my last contract. My sister and I lived together in an apartment that was completely furnished, and we found it by Furnished Finders. And not only did we use that, but we also stayed with a nurse, so it was really convenient to just use this website. It's very thorough. We signed a contract on site of our first day and put down our down deposit. When we showed up to the property, we had absolutely no problems. It was easy to get a hold of our landlord, and I had a really great experience with Furnished Finders, so I'm going to highly recommend it. You can see right here we're going over the max monthly budget, which is really easy because you can just pump in how much you can actually spend per month and take a search results from there. You can type in where you're going, just like we can from the other sites. This has some other features, though, that you can't find on the other. We see travel nurse housing demand in your area, and this is also for landlords who are looking to rent out a furnished room, and this is really easy and convenient. We can see travel nurse stipend calculator. It even has a calculator for all of you nurses, because I know that you're so great at math and you just love calculating all of your own numbers. I know I don't either, so this is a really nice little calculator for you to help. Reviews online. You can read about how it works all by yourself. We can scroll on down, key check, so free tenant screening. So this does give a screening. You do have to fill this out, and they do get like a background check on you. They do a comprehensive, easy to read credit report that doesn't actually open up as, like, say, Experian or one of the major credit raters will mark your credit score down because they're reviewing your credit score. Custom leases, so state by state, and we signed the California one, which was the most complicated, I bet, out of all the states. And it wasn't too bad, I have to say that. I really like these guys. I highly recommend them. Didn't have any problems. Here we scroll down to the top 100 cities for travel nurses. I've worked at 4 of these. These are some other sponsors. And this is the app. You can download it by yourself, and then let's go up to housing requests. So this is where you actually find a property that you want. It's very similar search criteria as the other ones, the other websites that we went over, and we can see and fill out the free housing below. We promptly alert property owners to match your requirements. You are contacted directly by the property owner who can accommodate you, and we filled out all this, and I have to say it was really easy, and I enjoyed my experience with Furnished Finders. I'm going to give them a thumbs up for just having an overall great layout, specifically designed for travel nurses. I know some physicians who have used this as well. I have nothing but great things to say about it. Don't just take my word for it. Here's a little bit more from Nomad nurse Denise.
And I'm here to tell you about housing options. Every place I go, people always ask me, where do I live and how do I find housing as a travel nurse? I've been a travel nurse for about 1.5 years, and I mainly use Furnished Finders. I like it because I mainly live in expensive areas like California and Washington, D.C., and there's a lot of options for roommates. And I know everyone is not the biggest fan of roommates, but I genuinely really like it. First of all, because as a single female traveler, I usually like to live with another female who can kind of check up on you and see where you are and kind of what things are going on. And they can also give you tidbits on traveling, on the best restaurants and places to go in your area.
Hey there, so my name is Canadian Gary, and I'm part of the team here at the Everything Travel Nurse Show. I'm the one who does all the filming, editing, screenshots, writing, animation. In fact, I pretty much do everything for the show. And Travel Nurse Gary really doesn't do a whole lot. In fact, I think he might have a speech impediment. So one more thing I want to add in about travel nursing is that there's an entire community out there who are traveling by RVs, campers, and I know nothing about that. That's an entire differently specialty, and there's a channel out there I want to recommend. It's called No Ordinary Path, and they do a great job of explaining how this type of lifestyle works. And a special shout out to No Ordinary Path. I want to say, I like your guys' channel. If you guys ever want to do a video, would love to do nomads versus campers. So that's all we've got for this week's episode. If there's anything that you'd like to leave in the comments below, would love to hear your feedback. In addition, if you could give the big Canadian warm thumbs up, would really appreciate it.